We're live.
Well, hello everyone. It's a good evening. It's a Monday evening. I hope you're feeling good. I've started out the morning not feeling so hot, and now I'm feeling better. I got two of my good friends right here. If you notice the hat, it is Niner Gang Wolfcast. We got David McNiner over here to the side, and if you remember, when we used to have this guy down below, he started out, and he gave me and David both an opportunity to be able to come on and start talking. And I kind of feel like I don't know, not to get too emotional, but it was like the Three Musketeers. And I'm just going to say it like that, one for all and all for one. But we're here to talk 49ers with you guys. So we're going to be talking a little bit about the upcoming, leading up to the preseason game. We're going to be talking just a little bit about everything. So stick around. But more, less or more. Let's hear how you're doing, Wolf. How's it been?
I'm doing good, man. Life's crazy, work's crazy right now, or else I'd be streaming. Other than that, just setting my family up for success at this moment in time. Kind of miss my channel a lot, especially
Well,
during a time like this right now during training camp. Yeah, it's good to be back with you guys.
one thing I really miss about you is there was like all these random moments, and it wasn't random, but you always found oh man, just like some fun way to talk about the 49ers. It was like every day you were messaging me, hey, you want to go live? Let's do this. Let's talk about this. And then, you know, um, I really do. I miss it. And I know, it's all about family and your channel is still there. You still are, dude, you're still where you're at. And when you do start streaming again, me and David will be there to, continue to help out. So again, it's like a special edition tonight, folks. I'm glad you guys are here. We're gonna, ask you anything in the chat if you have any questions for us. We'll try to we can pick our brains a little bit, but we're going to talk a little bit about the 49ers and their upcoming practices. And let's throw it to David. David, what's your thoughts of the Raiders?
Josh McDaniels, head coach, James Garoppolo, at quarterback. They'll be lucky to win 6 games. I mean, Josh McDaniels. This is his second stint, and the first time was with the Broncos, and he couldn't do anything with them. Now he's with the Raiders, and that organization has been dysfunctional since Al Davis, God rest his soul. His the days of him. It seems like their first round pick is solely based on the 40-yard time. And you just can't build a team like that.
Yeah.
I'd like to be a little bit more optimistic thinking about it, because you're like, oh man, Jimmy G, Jimmy Magic, whatever. The romance is gone, right? The honeymoon's over, but you still think, oh man, you'd like to hopefully see if he can do better. But what I've heard from the training camp reports and practices is he's not doing better. He's doing exactly what he's done in the Niner training camp, throwing linebacker interceptions, and he's really, really struggling to throw the ball deep. And Devontae Adams, Wolf, you played wide receiver. How important is it to be able to know your wide receiver can hit you in stride?
Your quarterback, you mean?
Yeah, you want a quarterback.
Yeah, you said your wide receiver can hit you in stride.
Well, yes, but you were a wide receiver, and
Yeah.
how important it is for your quarterback to be able to hit you in stride when you're running down the field?
As in terms of run after catch type stuff, really important, yak yards, that type of stuff. But in all honesty, something that I see missing a lot in the NFL is really a fundamental. Something that not the fastest guys can. You know, there's the fastest guys, the biggest guys, strongest guys, but when it comes down to technique, if you're a wide receiver, your job is to go get that ball. It's 50-50. Half of it's the quarterback. He just needs to get in your vicinity, give you the best possible chance. But sometimes he needs to be able to rely on you as well to be able to just 50-50 that thing and you high point it. Stick your foot in the ground, high point that thing, whatever you got to do. It takes two to tango. But yeah, as far as yak yards, man, getting you in space and protecting you, that's really important on the quarterback's part for sure. definitely took my licks. I remember getting sandwiched one time, and I was on the ground like Debo with my wind knocked out. But yeah,
That's a good topic to bring up. The other day, it was, I want to say, training camp 9, because I think today's training camp 10. And he got hit, and it sounds like he got the wind knocked out of him. And nobody wants to see that happen, but he got up, but he got up a little gingerly. So it's definitely something that we need to watch out for. But football is football, right? People do get hit, they get whacked, and the strongest remain. And we want everybody to be healthy, but these guys aren't China dolls either, or Fabergé eggs, right? They don't just break easily, and if they do, then they don't last. They do say NFL is not for long, but
yep.
What are you thinking, David? What's your thoughts on training camp?
Well, right now the main subject has been quarterback, and I'm just kind of gonna let that play out. At this point, Shanahan has not named a starter, and that's just the way it is. A lot of folks are just anointing Brock Purdy, and I can see where they're coming from. But he won eight games, 6 regular season, 2 playoff, and then got hurt. So all that being said, there's been a lot of people saying, "Oh, he's cleared. He's been cleared to practice." Niners have him on a schedule. He's still rehabbing that injury. It takes 6 months, and he is not at 6 months yet. So he'll practice for a day or two, but then if you didn't notice, he's got the day off, and Trey Lance and Sam Darnold are still out there practicing. Well, I'll throw in Brandon Allen there, but who cares? He's QB4, right? So, and Trey Lance has been the best QB amongst everyone so far. And, that's pretty much all I got to say about that situation.
That's all I got to say about that.
Mm-hmm.
I actually wanted to talk about what David was talking about earlier with Jimmy Garoppolo as well. I actually think he's going to do a lot better over there. Not as far as Yak, but possibly just with, I guess, racking up the stats. I think he's going to do real good. I think, what's his name? Josh McDaniels is going to let him off the leash a little bit, which is, everybody knows this. Garoppolo did his best when he was playing freely. And that was something I was damn banging the wall for this past year. Put him in the shotgun, not in the play action. That's not his strength. And so I'm really curious to see how that pans out over there on the Raiders. I hope Jimmy does really good, but I still hope the Raiders lose.
Oh, yeah.
Week out.
Oh, yeah. And I'm kind of leaning a little bit towards you a little bit. I think he's going to be a little bit better than what most people are expecting.
Mm-hmm.
And practice is practice, so it doesn't sound like he's doing anything different than he was doing with the 49ers. The shoulder injury and the foot injury makes it sound like he's more limited or nursing an injury. But I think with him going to a more of a familiar offense like he had in, New England, and I think with Kyle Shanahan not telling him exactly how to, play the game, you should give me the play. Let me go out there. And then if I see quarterback, option 1, 2, or 3, I'm going to deliver. I'm going to go through my progressions and I'm going to deliver. But when you tell me, no, just throw it to Kittle because he's going to be open, you're like, wait, but the guy's coming in and now, no, you're not letting me be a quarterback. You're not letting me be a player. You're making me be a video game, and I'm not a video game. I'm a player. I'm a person. So today too, I guess Kittle and Shanahan had some words, and it's always healthy to have words and talk and stuff. But I think that's a good point, Wolf, is because we've seen it multiple times. Jimmy was coming off the field and he was muttering something, and I think they got some sign bites. What was it? F those plays, or
these plays fucking suck, man.
So, hey, shout out to everybody coming through the chat.
You know what? I should have asked you first because I know my channel we cuss, but I don't know how you do it on your channel, Brian. I haven't heard if you regulate that or not. My fault.
No, it's always good, and you're more than respectable. Yeah, if something slips, it slips. If you guys hear a baby in the background, I do have my son in the room, but he's sleeping.
Uh-oh.
So, but no, if it happens, it happens. We have the morning show. We try to keep it polite. Nobody wants to hear a bunch of F-bombs in the morning, but if they do, they do, right? But, we always, and, a clean heart is a clean soul, a clean mouth, as well eating, well talking, and you know what I'm getting at. But if it happens, because you're passionate, and again, this is more of an evening show, and just really do appreciate you coming.
Hey, you asked me what he said.
He
I
said
don't have
it.
any bleeps.
That's what he said. That's
You asked me what he said. That's what he said. It wasn't freaking. I'll tell you that much.
It's true. I think you have a good point. If he comes out and he has like maybe the chains, taken off, and he's a little bit more able to play backyard football like those first 5 games, he just might actually play pretty well. But I don't think he's playing against us in the preseason game week 1, and I don't think Brock Purdy's playing either. So it definitely sounds like practice might be something fun to listen to, but
I'm kind of bummed out. I love that we're having the joint practices, but I'm kind of bummed out that it's the first preseason game for us. Because, for one, I like to whoop on the Raiders. That's one of the teams I really can't stand. The Raiders and the Cowboys. Those are like my top 2 most hated teams, growing up in the Bay Area and in that big time rivalry. So, yeah, I would rather see more of our starters against them, but it is what it is. Keep some of the guys safe. I know we've talked about this before, but what are your guys' feelings right now on our starters playing in the preseason? Because it's a big thing I feel like is going on, comparing with the Rams where they don't play any of their starters at all.
You're the first one that said that, I think, this entire offseason. I've heard it before. I think you said it the last time it was spoken. David, what's your thoughts on preseason? And I'm ready. I love preseason. I wish I could get more of it.
Yep.
Well, the NFL rules is actually scaled back. The not only the preseason but camp. All the organized activities, and I honestly think it's had effect on players in a negative way because they're not in football shape. And not playing the starters with our injury problems, I 100% see where Shanahan's coming from. He does not want to risk any of the starters in the preseason. And why should you, especially with the new rule where you can keep all 90 guys until August 29th, I think. So why should you play your starters? You're trying to see what all these guys have. So I do see his point, but I'm just hoping that for a healthy season, that's all I'm hoping for. And, and also hoping we can actually keep our starting QB healthy. I said this probably, but I think I first said this a week ago on our Niners Coast to Coast. And it's like, I'm not so worried about who the starting QB is going to be. I'm worried about keeping them healthy because 7 years of Shanahan, we've had 1 year with a healthy quarterback, 2019. That's it.
Yeah, man. That was actually something pretty cool that came up too, that up till August 29th, that was super crazy. But I love it. And it's going to be a whole different approach for the coaching staff to try and figure that whole thing out, because it's just going to be one cut date and you guys are gone. That's the team. And that's actually something I wanted to bring up about this joint practice thing here. I don't know if you guys have talked about this, but I think the Raiders are going to be keeping a watchful eye on some standouts in the 49ers side of the squad on the joint practices, if you know what I mean. Because if the 49ers cut any of those guys and, they're standing out in those joint practices, I'm going to be watching out for how many of them the Raiders are going to try and snatch up in the waiver wire.
I got to shout out Ted Talks Ball here because he dubbed the linebacking core for the Raiders the Legion of Whom. And I get a feeling that we cut a guy or two, they might end up starting over there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's something I heard Larry Krueger talking about too. But hey, two can play at that game, and I think the 49ers are going to be keeping a watchful eye on that other side of the field as well. So I'm curious to see if anybody and who we pick up from the Raiders if it comes down to that to put on the practice squad.
Yeah, that's interesting because usually it's Seattle that always picks up our practice squad guys, and we're always like, "Oh man!" And then that guy's not going to make the team, and then where does he go? So it's
Yeah.
interesting because Raiders are probably going to see a lot of our guys in the practice. I think we practiced against them 2 days, and I think it's Thursday and Friday, and I think they give a break, or I think they just practice with themselves on Saturday, if I'm right. And then Sunday we're playing. So they get an up close look, and they can definitely see what it looks like. So,
Uh-oh.
all right, we got David coming back. Hey, David.
That's what I'm afraid is going to happen to me because I'm using this background.
Well, hold on a second.
I'm curious to see
my Wi-Fi router is saying there ain't nothing wrong.
Yours recovered a lot faster than mine used to.
But no, I
remember those days.
I told you. Well, hey, if anybody goes back to the days watching Wolf, there was some times where there was some internet stuff, but he taught a lot. He taught a lot of people some good stuff. It's all about being hardwired and pause. But if you see this this blue cord right here against the wall, I'm hardwired. I'm not playing around. It might not look pretty, but I'm hardwired.
What is it? The do as I say, not as I do. Oh man,
I'll figure out cosmetics later. Don't call me ugly or late to dinner, okay? I'm gonna be there.
Yeah, dude. Guys, I'm super pumped up. It's here. I'm curious to see what days I get off. I know I get Sundays off with this job, but Mondays and Thursdays are going to be tricky if the 49ers are playing. I'm going to have to disappear from work. Allegedly. Don't tell anybody I said that.
We have Thanksgiving. I mean, I'm sure you have Thanksgiving off, but we have that evening game against
that's gonna be awesome.
Seahawks at Seattle.
Sadly, we do play the Giants. I think that's our home opener. It's our week 3 game
Thursday.
Yeah, and that'd be a lot of fun. But we'll see how that game goes. But yeah, hopefully you can hear it on the radio or earbud, or it's sometimes hearing a game on the radio too. It's just a totally different vibe. If you guys are ever having to work and do something and you can't really watch something, if you get a good announcer, they can really paint a pretty picture. And I used to be a dishwasher. I couldn't watch, I had to wash dishes for the restaurant, and I had the radio on in the background, and I'm listening to the Niner games, and I was tuned in. So definitely, it's always fun. You can see it visually in person. You can see it on the TV with friends or by yourself, or you're watching it with the radio with a group of friends, or even by yourself. It's football, man. I can't wait. We got just a couple more days, guys.
Yeah. YouTube TV now. Who all got it?
I don't have it. I'm going to look at it. I probably should have jumped in it before the prices jumped because there was a special. I'm trying to talk Tony into it, but we got to look at it.
Oh, the pre-order thing?
Yeah.
Actually, I have YouTube Premium. I get some sort of discount. I don't even know what it is. I got to look.
Hell yeah. That's awesome. Yeah, I'm glad they went the streaming route now, man. That's something that's going to kind of change the game, especially for me having crap signal from DirecTV.
So what's your
thought? Drop that.
I know it's not necessarily, it is football, but what's your thoughts with how YouTube is now going and how ESPN now has Pat McAfee?
How YouTube's going? What do you mean? With the content creators?
Yeah, YouTube's booming, and because it's gotten so big, now ESPN's taking kind of a little bit of a dive, a little bit of a hit, and they're now reaching out to people like Pat McAfee who have his show, and it's just blowing up on YouTube. So now they're going to have him on ESPN, and he'll still be doing his YouTube thing in his contract. I just don't know how they're going to break it all down. But what do you think? A couple years, yes, we're all on TV and ESPN.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta dream it to do it, I guess. Yeah, you got to set your sights high, man. But as far as YouTube, I mean, the society is all about convenience, it seems like. People are going to go the path of least resistance, which is YouTube. It's accessible on our phones, on our TVs, on our Xboxes, everything. You could get YouTube on everything. So, I mean, the ease of accessibility helps us as the quote unquote consumers. Now, in turn, hey, if there's a way to make money, why wouldn't they? So, of course, it's pretty cool for people that pave the way for people like us as 49er content creators and inspired us to do that thing. So some of us got a jump on it. I had to lay it down for now, but oh well. We'll see when I get to pick it up again.
Hey, just because sometimes somebody has to take a pause from something doesn't mean that it's the dream's dead, or the candle blew out or anything like that. It just means that you just have to take a step for a second. And sometimes too, how fast you grew. I know that for a moment you were a little not liking your growth, but then there is a moment you caught fire. And I think if you go back to the DeMar Hamlin video that you and David did, I was on another stream, and then I jumped in your chat. But you guys, I think you went over 14,000 views in that one channel, and it's about you being personal, talking with David, talking with your heart, something that really significant happened on the football field. And I think people can see through people. I think people see who's real. And you guys weren't putting the player down. You guys were doing exactly what you needed to do. And I kind of, again, I was on another stream at the moment. I jumped out, thought it kind of I should probably stay off for a minute. And then, noticed you guys were holding your own. And I'm shout out to both of you guys, again, sometimes that's what people need. And I'm sure he's probably even seen your stream, because that's how big you guys, I think, got. And after that, all the reports of him possibly being dead or having a fake and all this other stuff. But he's supposed to be back in camp this year. The Bills are excited about it. And it's just, it's weird, but God makes miracles, and miracles happen. And, that's what I got to say about that. But
yeah, that was crazy stuff, man. And not only that, when it comes to the growth of my channel, that's something that is always in the back of my mind. And, unfortunately, with my time constraint, I can't do much about it, but I always know I couldn't do it without you two that are on the screen with me right now. So that's something I'm always grateful for sure.
And we don't want to get too sappy, but you guys understand, Wolf is a good friend. It's like one for all for one. Kind of feel like the Musketeers here. You notice the hat, we all, Wolf, again, Niner Gang Wolfcast. He's got a great channel. Please go check it out. I'll have links in the description later for everybody to go and check out David's channel, my channel, and Wolf, and be, coming through, because we'll have Wolf come on multiple times from here on out when he has time, like he says, and he will have his channel up and running. So keep your notifications on. But let's get back into some of this stuff. So we got 3 preseason games. David and me talk a lot. You've seen the Saturdays and Sunday shows. So let's get your thoughts on, the significance of the preseason, and what's your thoughts on how they're going to break up the rotation of these quarterbacks, because we know there's a kicker competition and there's a quarterback competition, but I think we're all excited about that quarterback, right?
Dude, I can't wait to see Jake Moody in action. And I'll get to that. But first thing you asked me about was the quarterbacks, and I can't wait to see what Trey Lance has got in the tank, man.
Yes.
Honestly, in my opinion, he should have been starting the season. Give Brock Purdy some time to ramp up. Trey Lance is ready to go, man. So why not let him go full steam ahead? And depending how things are going along with the season, when Brock Purdy's ready to, if at some point it came down to him having to take over because, we're going through a slump or whatever, or Trey Lance is just not as explosive as we'd like him to be, which I'd highly doubt that'd be the case. Just his improvement from one half of a game to the next, I could imagine what his improvement would be from one half of the season to the next. Oh my God. And then don't get me started on postseason. Now, the thing is too, with that is, Trey Lance kind of coming from a smaller school, the big stage, the bright lights. Curious to see how he would perform in that type of atmosphere, but I definitely think he should have been starting the season, and I'm pumped up to see him in action, hopefully this week. I don't care about Sam Darnold.
No, I
don't care.
I like him. I like the ability that he has, but he's not who we give up 3-round picks for. You know, he's not who we went out there and invested and said, this guy's got the ability to throw the deep ball. Sure, Sam Darnold has that, but I don't think Trey Lance's time has come and gone yet. Purdy, caught fire because Trey Lance got hurt. If Trey Lance would have been healthy this entire season, we don't know what could have happened. The sky's the limit, right? This guy does not have a ceiling. Nobody's saying Brock Purdy isn't good or shouldn't start or anything like that. But the ability that Trey Lance brings, if he can come in and do what we all said before together, the Jimmy Gimmies, and explode, throw that ball down the field, make those defensive backs step back a little bit, respect the deep ball, and open up the run game. We will have those explosive bursts. I don't want to see Trey Lance be a Michael Vick. I want to see him be. I don't even want to see him be Steve Young. I want to see him be Trey Lance. I want him to stand back there, throw the ball, and play quarterback. We have plenty of running backs. Play quarterback. We got to run. Okay, you got to bootleg out a little bit. Okay, but if it's Trey Lance, it's Trey Lance. If it's Brock Purdy, but it's not. I don't. Do you believe at all that Brock Purdy is going to play any preseason games? And if you do, what game or how long would you play him?
If it were up to me.
Yeah, you're coach.
I mean, I guess if he's the starting quarterback and I've already decided that, then he's got to play at least one quarter of the last preseason game.
Okay.
But that's because I've named him the starter. Now, you ask me if I'm the head coach, if he's going to start the season, I'm telling you, hell no.
Okay.
He hasn't had any setbacks, but I mean, he hasn't been playing with live bullets either. So that's a tough situation right there, man. And that's not something I'm willing to gamble with as a head coach.
David, what's your thoughts?
Well, so far at this point, he's coming back from the injury. He's been cleared to practice. I have not seen anything saying he's cleared to actually start or play in a game. And the Niners themselves have said, we have him on the schedule. Who do you think gave him that schedule?
Yep.
The doctor.
Exactly. Thank you.
So, it hasn't been 6 months yet. And at the point of the start of the season, it'll be right there. I believe it'll be within 7 days of being 6 months. But at the same time, why push him? You know what you have there. Why throw him into the game, force him to try to throw a 45-yard pass? I mean, he actually tried throwing a 50-yard bomb in practice, and it kind of fizzled and came down around 38 yards is what I believe. So that just proves that he's not fully back yet. That's what that proves. His arm strength isn't all the way back. And if you go trying to push him into a game where things are happening fast and he's going to be trying to sling that ball out, the potential for aggravating the injury or something going wrong with his rehab is there. So, I'm not a doctor, but at the same time, I haven't seen his doctor clear him for a game. No, practice. But, we're talking about practice, not a game. Practice. Shout out to Allen Iverson. I love that rant.
Yeah, my thoughts on Brock Purdy is if he's healthy, that really goes down to the coach's decision. And if I'm the coach, or Wolf, David, you're the coach, I think at that time you'll see enough of what was going to determine whether or not he's the coach. He's going to start. You're the coach. You make up the decision. As far as him being healthy and stuff like that, I'd have to see again, more of him. We already seen so much of practice. Practice is an hour to 2 hours, and we're seeing maybe 10 minutes of a clip. So you can't really say if he's healthy or not, but just the way he came off the injury and the way the championship happened and stuff, I would assume and think that it would be healthier to have him maybe come in maybe week 4 or 5 if things aren't, working out. We did invest in Lance. We can afford to lose a couple games. No one wants to lose, but if we lose 3 or 4 games to begin the season or go 2-2, we still have a really good shot of making the number 1 seed. So I think it just kind of depends on, I guess, who's really emerging from practice.
So Something I feel that's kind of being put on the back burner too. I don't really hear anybody mentioning this. I could be wrong, but there's something in the NFL that doesn't really get accounted for. That's the malicious intent that comes along with the sport as well. You see it especially from guys like Ndamukong Suh. That's a real thing. Coaches, they'll tell you, um, you've heard it from players where coaches have told them, hey, target this. That's where Purdy's hurt, that it's still fresh. So that's something to watch out for too. And I did see that Kurt Sampson in the comments was saying that Purdy is completely cleared. And I totally understand where people that are saying that are coming from. But, in my opinion, the way I see it, just like David said, what he alluded to, if he's on a schedule, in all reality, he's not completely cleared. He's really not. Because why is he on a schedule? Why is he taking days off? Why isn't he out there 100% of the time taking 100% of the snaps?
That's facts. And that ball that fizzled, the 50-yarder that fizzled around 38 and landed around 38 yards, that was reported by multiple people, probably 6 or 7. So, that's not a conspiracy theory.
And I don't think any of us is sitting here saying that Purdy can't get it done. I think we're all being cautious with what Purdy can do and not his limitations necessarily. Because I think if he had to throw a deep ball and he had to pull it out from the bottom of his pocket, and throw it with this from all of his might, I think he could get it done because the guy's got the heart. But we see the difference of Trey Lance and his abilities. It's just he might not have the same polished or maybe the same confidence that Purdy has. Purdy's played so many more quarterback snaps in college and in high school than Trey has, but still Trey has this ability. So if we're not having to rush Purdy out right now because we can't afford to lose any games, right? But if we don't really have to concentrate on our winning factor at the beginning, I mean, we went 10-0 last year after we went 3-4. So I think the Niners can catch fire. We can win a bunch of games. In 17 games, we had a 10-0 run. So I don't think it's a problem with us winning games. I think it's a problem with us being confident and having the continuity. We're all gelled together. This year we have a new line. Well, somewhat right hand. Right, everybody's rebuilt on the right hand. Yeah, it's like RoboCop. We got a new hand, right? But they saved the hand, right? So they didn't save the hand. So let's we just got to keep moving in a positive direction. But if Purdy needs a little bit of time because they are not rushing him out there, so he doesn't have like what we heard last year, arm fatigue. That's what we're talking about. So we don't want Purdy to suffer that. And if he needs to take days off, okay, because we're trying to be careful with him, then why not put Trey Lance out there week 1 against the Pittsburgh Steelers? Week 2 against the Rams. Let's put him under bright lights with the Giants and see what he's got. Back in the stadium where he got his foot hurt. Let's see what we got. And then after week 4, if we don't like his production or if Purdy is ready to go, then should we say it like Russell Wilson? Let's ride, or is that too much?
Let's ride.
Let's ride.
Well, I'm not saying that the kid's not not a good starter. He is. He's proven that he can play with the team. It's just what Trey Lance brings to the table. The defense is going to have to play us straight up. They're going to have to play honest because, the whole deep ball threat, they're not going to be able to stack the box like they do with James Richard Garoppolo and make him try to beat him. They're not going to be able to do that. Brock Purdy, he has a nice 35-yarder. He did hit, I think, a 36-yarder in practice the other day, but that's still not 50 plus.
That's like an arm punt, right?
Yeah. And I just don't want to see him rushed back, because the schedule that the 49ers are keeping on is from a doctor, and if you're fully healthy and cleared and ready to go, why do you want to schedule?
Yeah.
So it's one of those, don't push him too hard. He has his whole career ahead of him. Let's get him back at full strength so it's not a worry. I mean, Nick Mullins actually had this exact surgery, didn't he?
Something
And
very something very similar. Him and Jake Delhomme, the old Panther quarterback, they
Jake Delhomme had a full Tommy John's done, though. He had the full shebang done. And he came back fine, but he had to wait. I think he was out a year at that point after that surgery. But and Nick Mullins had a brace put in, very similar surgery, if not the same surgery, and his arm's fine, but he also wasn't rushed back. So that's my biggest concern is the Niners are rushing him a little too much, but they're giving him off days. They're counting his reps. That this is all happening. So hopefully they're doing the right thing by the kid because he does have his whole career ahead of him.
Yeah. And I appreciate Kurt Sampson having his back too, like we love Purdy. Like look what he did for the team last year, man. Like in all honesty, Brock Purdy's dope. he's awesome. I just want to be careful with him. He's in a way I guess you could call him an asset, and you want to protect your assets. And so that's where I'm coming from. He's a baller. He's a straight baller. I love the way he plays. I love his tenacity, all that type of stuff. But I mean, that's the thing about good conversation as well, having both sides of the spectrum so we can get the perspective from everything to mash it together. And yeah, as well as the Tommy John surgery. Yeah, we know it wasn't the Tommy John surgery because he would have been out for the whole year, right?
Yes.
I just want to be careful with them, man. And I am willing to sacrifice a slow start to the season because not just for the quarterback situation, but I mean, look at even Nick Bosa. There's a lot of people talking about how, well, I guess a lot of reporters, content creators talking about how it's a very great thing that Nick Bosa is not in training camp right now because we know he's going to be in shape. That's not an issue. Every day that Nick Bosa is not reported as being injured or something like that is a great day in 49er land because we need him for what? The Super Bowl and the postseason, which seems like, in years past when he's been available during those times, he's kind of fizzled out towards the tail end of the year. So I am willing to sacrifice a slow start to the season if it means our guys are going to be feeling better at the end of the season and they're ready to roll.
Well, Jack Hammer actually said, a lot of folks are like, oh, the contract ain't signed. What's going on? I honestly think the money's been hammered out. They're just working on the fine details, or it could be they have the contract worked out, but they're not. We're not going to put our Ferrari into rush hour traffic, during a joint practice in preseason. Why take the risk? He's going to be the highest paid defensive lineman in the league, and I honestly think he's one of the best, if not the best, defensive lineman in the league. Impact player, straight up. And why take your Ferrari into thick traffic when people are driving around like antelopes running around in mating season when you can save the Ferrari for the open road?
Yep, totally.
Well, I understand where people are coming with this, but again, you can't really suffer any losses, right? There's 17 games. You want to win all 17. And Kurt Sampson, I don't want you to think this is a shot at you or anything, but you bring up a good point. You can't sacrifice the start of the season. But how many games do you expect the 49ers to overall win or lose? Please put your thoughts in the description, in the chat. But Wolf, how many do you think? I'm thinking we go 15-2. That's my heart and my beliefs as a 49er fan. I think we lose against Pittsburgh week 1. You go to Pittsburgh and you look at their record, they don't lose at home or when they come back home because they don't always start out week 1 at home, but they don't normally lose week 1 or at home. So it's almost like 2 games that they're like guaranteed that they're going to win in the last 10 years. I think the stats go back to 2014 that they haven't lost a regular season like home opener. So I know the terrible towels will be shaking. The quarterback situation over there is a little different, but they have a good coach, they have a good defense, and we're going to be coming in with some, I don't know, questions. Maybe not. Maybe we will be. But if our quarterback is taking time off, or he's not fully cleared, or they're being cautious with him, you are being cautious with them, right? Because you don't want to break them again. Well, why are you afraid that you're going to break them again? It's like you want to get in your car, you want to take off to the store and think every time you get in it, it's going to start up. But if you're like, oh, I need to make sure I don't have the lights on, I need to make sure that I got my seatbelts in, I don't have the radio on when I turn on the car, all these you shouldn't be doing either ways. But, sometimes people turn their cars off, they forget to turn their AC off, like all that. So you're dotting all the I's, crossing all the T's. And again, I'm thinking we're going 15-2. I think we lose against Steelers and the Ravens, Wolf. And I think the Niners can afford to put a quarterback out there. If it isn't Trey Lance, they could put Sam Darnold out there. I don't think the wins or losses at the beginning of the season is going to hurt us so much. I think it will hurt us in the end of the year. And, we first played the Steelers, then we play the Rams and the Giants. If we go 2-3 or 2-1 in the first 3 games and, only lose to the AFC, that doesn't hurt us in the NFC West, or in the NFC champion, the conference itself. It's when you start losing against your NFC rivals, your NFC opponents, that's where our seeding is going to break up to. We always go to AFC for the tiebreakers and, whatnot. But I don't know. What's your thoughts, man?
Yeah, I hope you guys don't get me wrong. I'm not saying like, let's go throw those games away. That's not where I'm coming from. But if we're going to knock out the kinks, I'd rather knock them out earlier than later. It's been kind of a trend with the 49ers under the Kyle Shanahan regime that we kind of start off slow. Even in 2019, when we went to the Super Bowl, big time struggled against the Steelers, right? So that's something that I'm talking about, finding our identity, not just on offense, but on defense as well. So with the quarterback position, I would rather protect Brock Purdy, start Trey Lance, see what Trey Lance has got. If he's hot, go with the hot hand and let it keep going. Unless there's means for him to be switched out. Just be safe with Brock Purdy. As far as the Steelers go this year, I just, for one, you brought up the terrible towels. I'm really curious to see how Niner fans travel this year. Well, not this year, but for that game specifically, actually, because notoriously the 49ers, the Niner faithful, I guess you call them, I call it Niner gang, travel awesomely, which speaking of, I think I'm going to the 49ers Cardinals game here in Arizona. So that's going to be fun. Going to go get in some fights. No. But yeah, I think that's going to be a big thing as well. Like, are they going to make it a point to steal the tickets before Niner fans get them? So I'm curious to see how that plays out. But I do think the 49ers would win no matter who's at quarterback, as long as it's not Sam Darnold. I just think, our defense would overwhelm their young quarterback, as well as our offense, our weapons, our yak, all that stuff is going to overwhelm the Steelers' defense. I don't care about their the trends that they've had, the stats of years past. We're trendsetters, man. We're not followers. Let's go get it done.
Hey, when you're at that Cardinals game, don't tell Kyler Murray he's short. Just tell him, you're not as tall as I thought you were.
I'm going to tell him, goo goo gaga. No, another one you touched on too. You said that we'd probably lose to the Ravens and the Steelers. Reason I disagree with that, and you have to prove me wrong first, is first and foremost, Lamar Jackson has to stay healthy. Even when he was at the top of his game, MVP caliber year, or what, did he win MVP that year? No, huh? Mm-hmm. I believe that was his rookie year. The year we went to the Super Bowl, we played him in 2019 in the rain, close game, and he got stripped by Tarvarius Moore, I think it was. That was dope. Yeah, I think it was Tarvarius Moore, one of those guys, one of the depth pieces. But yeah, even that was a super close game, and that was when Lamar was at the top of his game. He actually has to stay healthy for me to believe that we'd have a chance to lose against them.
That's a good, Kurt Sampson, I appreciate you so much for coming. You've been really fun and you've been coming through a lot. Appreciate you. So he brings up a good point. I actually think that is when he won the MVP. Okay. But what he said is Kyle worse than Tomlin? And my only rebuttal would be like, Tomlin has a Super Bowl ring. And I think he's been to two, if I'm correct. I could be wrong, but he's got a Super Bowl ring and he's been, above 500 coach his entire time being a head coach. And if you think about it, you really kind of have to think about how many coaches has been to the Super Bowl, won a ring or lost a ring, whatever. But if they've been to a Super Bowl, you have to kind of put them into a different category. And I think right now, if you look at the coaches, you have to say Kyle Shanahan is at least in the top 7, maybe. If that's fair, or maybe that's a little unfair, but he hasn't won a Super Bowl, but he's been to one as a coordinator, as a coach. And I think he can get it done. I just think once he wins the ring, it's going to change. It's kind of like what happened with Andy Reid. Everybody knew he was good with the Eagles. You had Alex Smith. They still weren't doing things. They had Kelsey. They were making noise in the playoffs, but they didn't win. Now you get Patrick Mahomes, Kermit, whatever you want to call him. I like calling him Kermit the Frog. It makes me feel better that we lost to him, right? But it's just one of those things. Now he's got a great quarterback. He had McNabb. McNabb was good too, but a lot of people, I don't know, McNabb isn't Mahomes. We can agree to that. And Michael Vick was really good too.
You don't say.
Michael Vick's time came and gone. I don't know. It's like sometimes the windows for certain teams have to open and close. So I would just have to say, I'd probably put him up there in the top 7, maybe, if that's fair. But, you want your players to go out there and perform. You want them to listen to your coach and believe in your coach. And I think we got a really good squad right now. So getting into really just deciding how the quarterback reps break down, I don't think we're going to have Purdy out there for week 1. I don't think we're having him out there week 2. He might pop out there week 3 for preseason. Like you said, maybe just a quarter. And if he seems healthy, he'll probably start. But I think we're all here on the panel in consensus. Let's not rush him out there. If he's that much better than everyone else, okay. But if he's that much better than everyone else, I think we have a lot bigger of a problem.
Thoughts, David?
Well, Kurt Sampson actually asked a good question. Is Tomlin better than Kyle? And Tomlin's never had a losing season in his coaching career. Never. He's never had a minus 500 record. He's won a Super Bowl. Has he won multiple Super Bowls? No. But I just answered it like this. We'll find out week 1. Yep.
Yeah,
and we actually go to Pittsburgh. So believe it or not, since Kyle Shanahan started coaching, we actually have a fantastic record on the East Coast. I remembered what it was before last year. We only had like 2 losses in all of his seasons on the East Coast. And I didn't add up the tally from last year. So, we had that thing in Chicago happen. And Denver. Remember that, right?
Yeah.
That was like, but the Seahawks game was sandwiched, and James Richard made the mistake of going, "Oh, it's like riding a bike." The offense,
Richard.
And then he comes James Richard Garoppolo.
No.
Jimmy Lawrence, the platform 246, is the one who originally said this. Jimmy is a term of endearment, and the way I look at it is we ain't homies anymore, so it's James Richard Garoppolo now.
We're still homies. me and Jimmy are still homies. He had to do what was right for his career. He didn't really have a choice. They gave him the boot.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
Honestly, look at what happened. He was having one of the best seasons of his career.
Yep.
And he tries taking off with a 300-pound lineman or 2 on him, and breaks his foot.
Tough way to go, man.
There's always the throwaway, Jimmy. You could always that's something he never really did, was throw the ball away when he had to.
Yeah.
And that's I've seen Purdy do it. I've even seen Lance do it. So that's an improvement right there. Don't take the sack, throw the ball away. But at this point, I just don't rush Purdy back. Just don't rush Purdy back. And the slow start to the regular season last year, it actually cost us the number 1 seed. And I truly want the NFC Championship to go through Santa Clara this year.
Oh yeah,
the Eagles, and maybe, I don't want to say the Cowboys are competition, because Dak throws a lot of picks, and he
as
15
opposed
in
to
12 games.
As opposed to quote unquote Mr. Irrelevant.
Yep.
And he's supposed to be a top tier type quarterback up against Mr. Irrelevant, and he does worse than Brock Purdy. So yeah.
But then the slow start, and yeah, I'm popping out and back in for some reason. My Wi-Fi router is not doing anything funny. I'm gonna have to reset it after this.
Peekaboo.
I know, right? But you know what? I might have to hop on my phone, see if someone's on my Wi-Fi, and if someone is, boot them off. I don't know who would be on it. But anyway, so at this point, I don't really want us to start slow. But the Eagles are big competition in the NFC, from what everyone's saying. And they have a much tougher schedule this year than they did last year. So everything right now, I'm looking at it like it's all on an equal playing field, and the number 1 seed is ours to get, even if we start 2-2. The number 1 seed is ours to get.
Yeah. One game at a time, you got to go out and get it.
Don't let one of those losses be to the Rams, though. We have to sweep them again.
Well, I think that totally kills us. If it is the Rams, it really just puts a knife right into our one, we won't be able to sweep the West, and then the best we could do is go 5-1, and I think we all have our eyes set on 6-0. It's very feasible. It's right there. So I think really there is no option. We can't afford to lose one. Shout out to Kurt Sampson. We really cannot afford to lose a game. But if it does happen, then I'd rather it be the beginning of the season than the end of the season, when we really do need those wins. I don't like teams resting players at the end of the season. I think that makes us rusty. I know what you're saying about getting the first seed, because then we get a playoff game at home, and the second one if we win. But I kind of think that's kind of the same thing. We get like that little rust moment, where the guys cool down and maybe stretch too long or something. So I definitely want to see the first seed, but yeah, I mean, why rush him back? I don't think anybody can really answer that, unless the question truly is, and if we just solved a math equation right here, is Brock Purdy that much better than Sam Darnold, Brandon Allen, and Trey Lance? Because if the answer is no, then why are we rushing Brock back into the game? But if he is better, and he is so much better, like how much better? What percentage? 50%? 70, 25%? He's 10% better. I mean, I don't know. I mean, kind of hard to break it down like that, isn't it, when you think of it?
And from what everything that I hear is that Trey Lance has been the better quarterback out of the 3 throughout training camp.
Yes.
If you average out all the days. Now today, well, actually, I have a couple things I want to touch on specifically today. Here, I gotta write something down before I forget. But I want to get your guys' thoughts on a couple things here. One thing being, did you guys notice how, everything that I've heard is that all the quarterbacks today, nobody had a great day?
Yeah.
Who wasn't at practice today?
Ayuk.
What does that tell you guys?
He's the number 1 wide receiver.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody just, as far as quarterbacks go, I think, Ayuk's posing so much of a threat, and that his presence is such a threat to the defense that they were able to kind of let loose a little bit better against all the other receivers and weapons today, man. So I've been, I don't even know how to say it, like what the phrase would be, but I want to get Ayuk unleashed, man. I feel like he's been so underutilized even before, up until, this is supposed to be his contract year. So this is when he's really supposed to ball out. But even in seasons prior, ever since his rookie year, I think he's been underutilized, man, unless, we really needed to go to him like in his rookie year. Other than that, he was just shunned in the quote unquote doghouse. And I don't understand that. And I just can't wait to see him. I don't think they're going to have a choice but to unleash him. And maybe even Kyle Shanahan even tries to hold him back a little bit to kind of, I don't know. I don't know what's going on with the contract either. I'm curious to see how that pans out.
Dude, you saw how many times was Ayuk open downfield and James Richard Garoppolo just, I can't make that throw. And he throws a check down. When it comes to not being utilized, our limited QB has definitely hurt Ayuk.
Yeah.
And, Brock Purdy has, I honestly do think he has a stronger arm than James Richard Garoppolo. I called him Jimmy for some reason. But, Ayuk being, 35, 40 yards, that's kind of Purdy's strike range. When you start going beyond that, he's having to lob it. So that receiver better be wide open, But and that's perfect for Ayuk though, because a lot of the times when I saw him open, it was around the 35, 40-yard range. And James Richard Garoppolo either ran through his progressions too fast, didn't see him, or he knew he can't make that throw, so he's going somewhere else with the ball. And every time that guy cocked back to throw, I was like, I was looking at TV like, no. But that's just because I didn't want him throwing a pick to a linebacker.
And that, and that's the thing too, man. As long as all these guys stay healthy, I can't wait to see this offense firing on all cylinders. I feel like, I think we all kind of saw it. Kittle getting revamped and getting rejuvenated with the presence of Brock Purdy in the pocket, as a quarterback. Debo kind of slumped out in his, the way he sees it. He didn't have a great season. I didn't think he was having a great season either. So for him to come in his tip-top shape this year, if he's going off, Ayuk's going off, Kittle's going off, like, how can you stop this offense, man? How can you stop this offense? And one thing I want to see, Debo's MVP caliber year. There's something there that is now missing, that was missing this past year. Super underutilized, or actually not utilized at all. If you guys notice and you guys go back to highlights of, what was it, 2021? Yeah, 2021, when Debo had that breakout year, he was getting hit on deep passes. What the hell happened to that? And one thing he was doing, like I talked about earlier, 50-50 ball, stick your foot in the ground and go get it. And he would do it, led to a lot of big plays. One was against the Chicago Bears in 2021 when we were playing the Chicago Bears. Offense was super stagnant. Kyle Shanahan yells at Jimmy Garoppolo, basically, just effing throw it, dude. Just make the damn play. Throw it to Debo. Jimmy Garoppolo comes out. James Richard Garoppolo comes out, throws a deep pass, one-on-one. Debo Samuel sparks the entire offense. Huge play. I think it was right before the half. And we just took over the game from there on out. So I hope we see some of that this year.
I agree. I think that's what they got to do. I've had this, and we've talked about this before too. Like, I love how the Niners run the ball, and if we can run 40 times a play, a game, we seem to win, right? Like, that's our run ratio win factor, right? But I love it when they run the ball and we take up so much money, so much time on the clock. We don't give the other team. But
Time is money.
if we can, exactly. But if we can score quick, like at almost any time, like you seen how fast the Debo score was, sure, it puts the defense back on the field real quick. But sometimes they can take breaks, they can rotate players in and out, and we can get a little bit more rest for some of the players that might have been going all out for the last couple of downs. Then blitzing more often and us changing our defensive backs, and that should all help. So this defense should change just a little bit. But when you look at the offense and the ability that Trey Lance does have to do those deep shots, and shout out to Kurt. Kurt, you are great. You brought it up a good point. I don't think people understand this is the best situation Trey can be in. Yes, that's not the one. The one that I wanted to say that you said is Brock is more willing to throw things. Yes, he is. He is, because he's had more reps at quarterback, not just in the NFL, in high school and in college. He was a 4-year quarterback in college. I mean, he's not just playing one season, taking a year off because of no one is putting down COVID. But when you took a year off, that really hurt you in your development and, everything you needed to do, man. Like, I don't know what to do or what to say. Go out in the field and throw the football to somebody, and hope that they don't throw you back COVID. Everybody was afraid of the disease, the flu, whatever you want to call it. But he decided to take his year off, and that you don't have that many years or reps at quarterback. You've only put your hands down there between another guy to snap a ball so many times, right? Maybe you're a little, cough, whatever. You need to get comfortable, right? So Purdy's had that, and that's, I think, where he is, like, turn around, spin around. We've seen it in Seattle and do that, like, no look, double look throw, or however you want to write it up. That's I think what we need to see Trey do, because he just has to get his feet wet. I mean, maybe wet behind the ear, maybe he's a little too green, or whatever you want to say. But I think the guy's got it. I think the guy has the ability, and we totally have no argument for why Brock Purdy can't be that guy or go out there and do it. It's just, why rush the guy back out there if he's only marginally better than Trey Lance? And we just want to see Brock Purdy hold up. Brock Purdy was Mr. Irrelevant. He came in on a unicorn, if you want to say it. He almost rode us to the championship, on like the white knight, whatever you want to say. And you look at him, and he wasn't expected to carry us. So again, we invested all this for Trey Lance. I think we should see what the investment is really going to pay off. And if we do it at the beginning of the season and he does sink, it's either sink or swim, right? So I think it's time to take off the training weights and the floaties and get out there. No life preserver. Let's go.
Yep. They both have different things to offer, man. They're both really good in their own separate way, and I don't think you could go wrong with either one. I think the situation just calls for something other than how it's possibly being handled. That's a possibility. That's just the way I see it. But man, I'm rooting for both of them, man. I'm a Niners fan at the end of the day. They're both young guys that, I'm really happy for them and their opportunities, but I want to see both of them succeed.
Did either one of you guys see the nasty article that came out today that said 49ers might trade quarterback? And we all know what quarterback I'm talking about. Tampa Bay is now interested in our young guy, Trey Lance. I don't see us trading Trey Lance to Tampa Bay. I do not see it happening at all. It was a nice little article. If you guys want to go and read it, just Google 49ers news, it'll pop up. But it's kind of like one of those what if, or it could happen, but this isn't Angels in the outfield. We're not JP, it could happen. No.
I want to get your guys' thoughts real quick, if it's cool, on the Seahawks. Because one thing you talked about was the Rams. I don't see them doing anything. I think they're in a rebuild stage. I think they're back to rebuilding, back to their old ways. But the Seahawks, keep hearing that people are saying the Seahawks are going to be a dark horse. I do not see it. Maybe it's wishful thinking, but I don't see it. They get a couple really good DBs, in the draft. Cool. I got to see it to believe it. I don't think they're going to be able to get over the hump with Geno Smith at quarterback.
David, you want to jump in?
Geno Smith, the guy is 33 years old, and at this point in time, he is a game manager that has two really good wide receivers, and all he's got to do is get the ball. I actually watched film. A guy broke down Geno Smith and a lot of the stuff he did right, and it's all in coaching, and him and DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett getting open, and I honestly think he is what's going to hold that team back. Their defense, they added some pieces. They're trying to fix it. No one knows if it's actually going to be fixed. They do have a good corner from last year in Wolin, and then they took that. Has the 5th overall pick signed yet?
Oh, I wish we had Joe Stevens here right now. He'd know. I don't know that.
I don't think Witherspoon is signed yet. He's like the only draft pick in the first round that hasn't signed yet. I'm actually gonna find out right now.
CG said he signed.
Okay, thank you, CG.
What up,
But
CG?
yeah, I remember we were talking about it last week, and he hadn't signed his contract yet, and it was like, preseason games are coming, bud. You're costing yourself. You're not learning the system, But so if Witherspoon pans out, because he's a rookie, no one knows if he's going to pan out, then they have two good corners. They have Diggs at safety. Diggs is a pretty good safety. But the rest of their defense, they have Nwosu at edge. I like that guy. 9-10 sack guy a year. I like that player. But the rest of them, it's like, they got Bobby Wagner, who's like pushing 34. How much longer is he going to want to do this? And question marks at the other two linebacker spots, question marks all along the defensive line, minus Nwosu. And they're trying to fix it because their D line was their problem last year. But can they stop anyone? That's something we're going to be finding out. But yeah, Geno Smith, he's not going to get it done. They might make the playoffs. They might make the first round. Who knows? They might even play us again. But Geno Smith is not winning playoff games. No way.
I mean, even last year in the playoffs, that was our third time playing them that season. The whole vibe I got in that first half, they were keeping pace for a while there, but you can feel the tension of it was almost if one thing went wrong, they were done. And sure enough, as soon as one thing went wrong, just snowballed, and it was just a complete disaster for them from there on out. So that was the vibe I had gotten, and I felt it. I was like, oh man, they are trying so hard just to not make a mistake. Sure enough, as soon as they make that mistake, they were done. 49ers smelling that blood in the water. You got Brandon Ayuk in a contract year, top of his game. Debo Samuel coming in his supposed tip-top shape. McCaffrey with the full offseason with the 49ers and Kyle Shanahan's offense, Kittle. Like, dude, I don't see it, man. I don't understand what we're talking about.
The Seahawks are not as good as us. They're not.
So that's
a lot of people are like, oh, they could. And then there's reporters that are actually saying, oh, they could surpass the Niners. You just want clicks. You just want clicks, buddy. That's not going to happen.
That's a good point. This clickbait. At certain times, I try to check myself and see if I'm being biased because I'm a Niner fan. Duh. In case nobody's noticed. But I honestly just don't see it. I don't see really anybody in the NFC West doing that.
I think Geno Smith has matured a whole lot. I think it might have taken him, we can say it how you want. He got punched in the face and broke his jaw. He lost his job in one place, went to another city. Didn't have to go very far. I think he played in the same stadium, if I'm correct. He went from one New York team to the next. So he went from green to blue, and maybe that was because of the bruise. I don't know. Maybe he was just, you know, when your aura is the wrong color, and then sure enough, then he goes to a green and blue team. So maybe it was the combination of the two, but he sure did catch wind and fire up there in Seattle, right? And as much as everybody was like, "Oh, I hate Seattle," David knows I don't sleep on Seattle. I got a bad feeling about Seattle every time we got to play them. I think our overall record now is 30-20 with
That's
the
correct.
Seahawks, and it's just one of those things like I don't care. Every year I want to beat the Seahawks, but Gino did come out and he started playing really well. And when you have somebody like Metcalf and Lockett, all you do is need a quarterback who can stand tall in the pocket and throw it. I think when he gets shook, he does have a problem. I wouldn't pick him for my fantasy quarterback, but I think he does get shook. And they do have a decent defense. It's not the best, but they have Kobe Bryant out there, and then they have a couple other DBs that are really good. I know Joe keeps talking about them, and Bobby Wagner came back, so he is like a leader in their defense. Even though he's like been removed for a year, he's going to come back in. He's going to hopefully not miss a beat with their team. Again, I want to beat the Seahawks every time we play them.
No, we want them to miss a beat.
Yeah, but for them, for them, you would hope that he doesn't miss a beat for them. But no, I don't want to lose to the Seahawks. I'm not going to sleep on them. I'm looking at them, without my rose-colored glasses on or without, my shades on because I don't want to sleep on them either. But Geno Smith, I think he's just in the right position right now. I think if you used to put him on a different football team, he's not. There's not too many spots that he's going to be able to go to right now and start and have the same kind of success he had in Seattle.
And that was something I forgot to mention too. I honestly think, I mean, for one, teams aside, just man to man, I'm happy for that success that Gino had. The story, it's a good story. It's really cool. But in all reality, I think last year was his coming out party. Just like they talk about Brock Purdy, hey, it was his coming out party. When the league catches up, he's going to regress. Okay, so that doesn't pertain to Geno Smith. They got film on him now, so I think he's going to regress as well. There's a chance same thing can happen for Purdy, and I'm just being realistic. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I honestly think Brock Purdy, when he's on and he's 100% healthy, he's just too good. He has his physical limitations, but he's damn good. So I don't think he'd regress very much. If anything, he's very versatile. Geno Smith, pretty versatile himself as well, but he's kind of like, in my eyes, I kind of see him like the Mike Tomlin of quarterbacks. Not really sub 500, but he'll keep you afloat. Good game manager. A couple deep passes here and there.
Was it Geno Smith that got a handful of his teammates' backside last year? Wasn't it Geno Smith?
It's 2023, man. Oh no. Hey, what's up, John Jay? I got you.
Chat is
lamb tears are great, John Jay, just so you know.
Yeah, chat is popping. It's a lot of fun.
Oh yeah.
We just again, we like cutting it up, getting together. We've done it a lot, and it's like three buddies up here talking again. But as far as Geno Smith goes, I think I guess the weight, or if you want to say Seattle, the needle in Seattle's on his shoulders, or he's gonna have to. It's gonna be him. It's not Pete Carroll. It's nobody else in Seattle. If he falls off, that's only gonna help us. But if he's doing good, again, I think that's the only person we got to worry about. DK is not going to throw the ball to himself. We don't have to worry about James throwing the ball to Bobby Wagner. So it's just, and as long as we watch the fake for the punts, or the field goals, I still won't forget that they ran that. They got it on us, and then they blocked a field goal a year ago. So watch
Jake
out
Moody.
Jake
Moody, man. Jake Moody kicking 60-yarders. I can't wait to see that.
Oh yeah. So what's your thoughts before we get out of here? Because I know we've had you for a while, and it's probably good to, end before it's too late. I know we got work tomorrow and all that great stuff. Kiddos to say hello to. If you guys heard my baby in the background, he's getting big. He's starting to crawl. He's almost 5 months. Really excited. But what's your thoughts on the new kickoff rules, Wolf?
What were they exactly?
So now, if they fair catch it, they don't give them the ball where they fair catch it
Oh,
at.
at the
Now,
25.
yeah.
Yeah, no, I remember that. I had completely
But
forgotten
they
about
can't just signal a fair catch. They actually have to catch it.
that. Just
So,
wave. No, I'm good. Just let it fly
dude,
past you.
I'm honestly thinking that the NFL coaches are coaches for a reason. They're intelligent. They're going to find a way to take advantage of this rule. But
Oh
that's my
yeah,
opinion.
somehow, some way. I mean, yeah. I mean, they're just trying to make it safer, more boring for us, but it is what it is. Health is important at the end of the day, so I totally get it. But Jake Moody.
Well, before we jump real quick, I would love to see the data at the end of this year because if it shows that there's still the same amount of kickoff, supposedly concussions, and what's happening right now is they're saying, oh, you got a concussion like 2, 3 days after the game. Oh, well, when did it happen? It must have happened on special teams. It happened on kickoff, right? So this is the reason they have the rule change because they didn't do anything to punts. They didn't do anything to, field goals. This is only kickoff. So they're like, oh, you suffered it during kickoff. And kickoff sometimes some teams only kick off one time during the whole game. If you only score 1 point, or one touchdown, you get to kick twice, but you're guaranteed to kick off either the beginning of the game or halftime, coming into the third quarter. I know because we had a couple of games where we didn't score points. So it's not fun when you don't get to score if you're on kickoff. But, just thinking about it, why did they do that? Because they're blaming kickoff for the concussion. So if this year's data comes out at the end and it's the same thing, what are they blaming next? You can't blame kickoffs if these guys are fair catching it all the time and no one's running into each other. And so I think it's going to be interesting. But yeah, your Jake Moody question, excited about him. I'm excited. I think David's excited. He's been around me enough. I think it's rubbed off on him. It's Moody season.
Yeah, man, that's gonna be dope.
Hey,
And
think about this for a minute. We're driving. It's late in the game. We're in field goal range, 49 yards. Now we have a kicker that can kick it. We don't have to go for it on fourth down and get it within his range. So it ought to change a few things here and there, having a kicker that can actually get that 50-yarder.
Yep. But the consistency, that's going to be key. I've always hated how 4th and 2, Kyle Shanahan would just lay down and kick a punt on the opposite side of the field. Like that shit would piss me off, man. So I'm looking forward to going for some more fourth downs and seeing how consistent Jake Moody is too, man, because definitely something I loved about Robbie Gould. Sucks to see him go, but, I think it was time, especially with the salary cap era. We got things going on.
You can only make so much money. You can only take so much with you, right? You're not really able to take anything with you if you think about it. You can be buried with it, but I think that's kind of weird. You got your family you can support and take care of, but at a certain point, don't you want your family to be able to stand up and take care of themselves as well? So if you put your kids into college, you do the right things and put them into checks and balances and allow them to be able to be successful from maybe your success as being a professional athlete. Great. But you're telling me you couldn't have taken a little bit of money off to come back, run it back or whatever, like, I don't know. Supposedly they're saying the Niners didn't even offer him a contract. No, his agent went up and said, oh, here's what we'd like. Let us know. You call us, you call us. We won't call you, right? And they're like, Niners looking at him like, no, you're going to call us in a couple of weeks. Well, they didn't call back fast enough because they thought they were playing hard with the Niners. We got Bosa to pay for. Any bit of extra money we can give to Bosa, Ayuk, come on. We just paid Debo the bag and that kind of I don't know if it blew up in our face. We'll see if this year kind of, answers that for us. But it seems like he did take a little bit of a step back after getting that big bag. So,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're getting a super talented prospect for basically almost for free, for really cheap. Like you said, we got all these
For
guys. We
4
got to pay
years.
this. Got to pay this year, so we really got a penny pinch. And if we can come up on a guy, like I really loved that they actually moved up in the third round to go and get Jake Moody. I know a lot of people hated it and this and that. I have my reasons, but I really liked it. I thought it was an awesome move.
Only time will tell if it turns out to be, a good decision
Yeah.
or a bad decision, but for right now, I think everybody can live with it. And if he wins the Super Bowl, I don't think anybody's going to really care. At the end of the day, it's all about just getting that next ring. So,
Yeah.
My only thing is we typically don't do well in the third round. We have Fred Warner. I'm going to give the second year players a mulligan. Danny Gray. Ambry Thomas isn't getting a mulligan. I don't think he's making the team. But Fred Warner in the third round. Can you name anyone else? So, and that's just the flat truth. For some reason we don't draft well in the third round, but the fourth round on, we'll hit it. I don't really
crazy.
get
That's
it.
super crazy.
I don't really get it, to be honest with you.
Wasn't Hufanga a third rounder though?
He was a fifth,
yeah.
I believe.
Okay. That makes
C.J.
sense.
Beathard was a third. Kittle was a fifth. Moody was a third. High.
That fifth round is money right there, man. Elijah Mitchell, I think, was in the fifth round too.
It is. Yeah, I think he's actually a sixth. But yeah, that fifth round, that really we got Colton McKivitz, which without the pads on, he did not look good. But then they put the pads on, and all of a sudden he's a different man.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing that one, man. Tired of seeing McGlinchey, McFloppy,
McChokeslam.
Yeah,
I've been calling him McChokeslam since that Micah Parsons chokeslam.
Yeah. And before we close out, man, one thing I forgot to mention that I want to talk about too. Maybe I don't know if you're closing out pretty soon.
We got time.
Okay. That it definitely be something to close out on. Is I can't wait to see and hear what comes out of the joint practices with Fred Warner clowning on Jimmy G during those practices. He's gonna be talking some ish. He's going to be talking some ish. I think Greenlaw is too. And I think they're going to have a field day on Jimmy G. And I think Jimmy G is actually going to have some fun with it as well, honestly. But I think he's going to bring his A game as well.
Okay, so we got 2 practices, right? And I think the best way to end out on this, we can always go, man. We get, the 3 of us can talk for a long time.
Oh, yeah.
But I think the best way to end the show is how many interceptions or pick sixes, they all count, does Jimmy throw during these 2 combined practices? I'm going to say the safe number. I think the safe number is 4 between both of them. I think he throws 4 at least. I think that's the floor. I think the ceiling could be a lot higher, but he's throwing 4 interceptions on regular practices with the Raiders right now. And, that's what I just read today. So we know he's throwing interceptions to our linebackers. So is 4 too much, or should we go for more?
Over or under 4.5 interceptions for Jimmy G in 2 days?
I'm going over, but not by much, but over.
Yeah,
our defense, right?
Yeah,
our defense.
Oh, yeah. Big time. Yeah, I think he's going to try and force it over those linebackers, and some of those other DBs we got on the tail end are going to have a day themselves too. I think it's going to be over 4 picks, but I do think Jimmy Garoppolo is going to come with his A game and probably going to be all in good fun at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But there's going to be some smack talking.
Oh, yeah. And it's not for the preseason game. It's for the 2 practices, so there's 2 days that he can definitely come really aggressive, like A game. And there could be a day he does a Jimmy, but, Tony's brutal. She says 7. Caitlin says 6. We got Kurt with 1, and again, I think 4 is safe. I think he's got to throw one for love, right? 1 for luck, and 1 to miss me, right? And 1 to, hey, you guys want me back, right? So we'll see. We'll definitely have to look into that.
I'm gonna say 5.
5.
I'm gonna say 5. The thing with me is Jimmy Garoppolo. The way I see him is the interceptions in practice don't matter. I think he's out there trying some shit. I just think he's out there trying some shit, testing his boundaries in practice, and he's a gamer, man. He does throw some boneheaded interceptions in games too, but it's not as frequent as he does in practice. So I think he's going to be slinging it and testing himself out. It's going to be a defense he's pretty familiar with outside of Steve Wilkes's, game plan being a little bit different probably. But he's gone against these guys, so I think it's going to be more of the same that we've seen in the past.
You have to kind of think about it. Like, they almost beat us last year with Carr. I know Carr is a different court. Well, it wasn't Carr; it was their backup quarterback, right?
Stidham.
Yeah. So this offense, this Raider offense already knows it can match up against our defense. They're not going to be scared playing us. So here comes Jimmy in there, and if he has a couple good reps, a couple good throws, he's going to give this offense, this whole team, like, juice, and think they're gonna be like, oh man, we're world beaters. We're beating the number 1 defense. So even if he throws like 1 or 2 or 3 interceptions, like Deanna just said, if he throws a couple of touchdowns, they're gonna walk off the field feeling like they won the Super Bowl.
I'm still going over 4 somewhere. I would love to see 7. I mean, that would be fire, but
I'm going to say 5 for 2 days. I think it's going to be 5. 3 the first day, 2 the second day. You guys heard it here first.
Either way, I'm really happy. I'm excited. Niner football is back, baby. And with that, guys, keep your notifications on. We'll be going live again anytime we can get Wolf out here. We're going live. So I'm not going to howl. Wolf wants to howl. That's fine. But you guys just keep coming back because we appreciate you. And go Niners.
I only howl for super chats.
Go Niners and F the Lambs.
Yeah, Niner gang.
That's right.
Thanks, guys. We'll see you later.